Yeah, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Okay, so let's sing a little bit. I've been to Romamu, I've been to BJ, I've searched all over for a place to pray. I found the mosh pit and knew that this was it. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay. And I'm turning gray. I found community that is into me, singing and dancing in our synagogue. Some contemplation mixed with elation. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay. And I'm turning gray. Everybody! A chance to meet you, a place to greet you, a time to deepen what it means to belong. Let's have some fun tonight and spread some joy and light. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay. And I'm turning gray. Here comes Hoff, give me the harmonica. So sweet. Even when he's not here, he's playing. Very nice. You didn't know Hoff made friends with Neil Young at Woodstock. All right, enough of that foolishness. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Judy is here. Gail is here. Well, isn't that great? It's kind of like on Shabbos, on Friday night, where you light the candle and then you say the blessing and you open your eyes and whoa, the lights are lit. We sing this theme song. I go from spotlight to see a gallery view and look, more people are here. Isn't that amazing? Well, this evening, without further ado, we're going to delve into Birkot HaShachar, the morning blessings. Rachel, welcome. As you well know, or you might know, there are many more of these morning blessings than we have in our Moshe Siddur. We only have a few of them, you know. I don't want to be a tichet tzibur. I don't want to be, a pain, to all of you. And so I don't present them all every week unless maybe we're in person. But, I pulled out some that I felt were really critical to have, but there are more as well. So we're going to take a look at the full extent of those blessings this evening. And I'm going to invite you at various points to give your interpretation of what this blessing might mean in a modern context. All right. So you're all okay. I'm giving you all smicha tonight. You're all the Rebbes. Stan has a stack of books to look at. And Queen Carol Ann is eating so that she has the strength to make it through the next hour. Alrighty, so let's begin with just reading through the traditional blessings. Now, please be warned, I have not changed the English on here. I'm sorry, Scott, but there's so many hours in the day.
What are you using as your text?
Oh, I'm using the text like that. All right.
Where does it come from?
It's from Sepharia.
Oh.
As well, and the English is from Sepharia as well.
Okay.
And usually I take things from Sepharia and then I go back and I change, Lord to Yud Hey Vav Hey, and then I have to take out the word the before Lord, and I take away
you
king.
could always ask. You could ask for help. You don't have to do it all.
Oh, thank you, Scott. All right, good night, everybody. That was worth coming for, just to get that.
Sure. I could rewrite the whole thing for you if you like.
Yes, I'm sure you could, Dan. All righty. Who would like to read the Hebrew and who would like to read the English? And I'm going to spotlight this so it pops up, or you can spotlight it actually, so it pops up taller on your screen. We got a Hebrew reader. Rachel, did I see your hand up? Okay, unmute yourself, my friend. And who would like to read the English? I'll unmute you. There you go, you're unmuted. And who, now you went and muted yourself. There you go. Who would like to read the English? This is not a very hard. Gail, I'm giving you the English to read because I know that is not possible that you can read. You haven't gotten that far yet in your studies. Okay.
You're going to put it up on the screen?
What are you, I'm going to make you guess?
Okay.
Now, actually, that's a good question, Rachel. I give you a wise guy answer, but there is going to be a moment in this teaching tonight where the fact that people did not know these prayers by heart came into play. All right. So here we go. We're going to read through these 12, and then we're going to go back to the beginning and unpack in a couple of different ways. So here it is. And I'm going to spotlight it for everybody. Oh, that first word is Baruch. I got to move that over. Hold on a second. Okay, that's better. All righty, Rachel, start us off.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לשכבי בינה להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
Gail?
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who gives the rooster understanding to distinguish between day and night.
Now, I just want to point out here, clearly Gail is from a deep Ashkenazic Eastern European background because she just Adonai, right? Was my father said. Gail, I'm only teasing you, but of course that's what the English says here, Adonai.
Right, it does say it.
It does say that. All right, Rachel.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שלא עשני גוי.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who did not make me a Gentile.
All righty, so we already know that that does not appear in the Moshe Siddur, but we're going to take a look at what that might have meant and what it might mean now to those traditionalists who still use that. Okay, number 3, what's behind that curtain, Rachel?
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שלא עשני עבד.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who did not make me a slave.
Alrighty. So those are the first 3. We're going to continue through the rest of them. And just keep in mind, you know, when we're together, the language for the formula is often changed to Bruchat Yah Olamim, or Bruchat Adonai Ruach Haolam. So we're using different formulations of the of these first 6 words, which I think we've unpacked before on Wednesday nights. What's going on here? Okay, next page.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שלא עשני אישה.
Ooh, okay, well, you can't say that though, right? Now, why can't you say that, Gail? Gail, now you're going to read it, and you can't say it. Only read what's not in parentheses. Don't read the parentheses yet.
Oh, okay. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who did not make me a woman.
Yeah, so that's why you can't say that. That is for the men to say. And then it says, Nashim Omrot. The women say, go ahead, Rachel.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני כרצונו.
Mhm.
That's better.
Which means, forget those parentheses. They don't belong there.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who made me according to his will.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's not yet guess why this also appears here in the Siddur Ashkenaz. We're not quite sure how old the woman's reply is, but certainly this was not in it when these were formulated. Alrighty, and we're going to go back, like I said, to take a look at all of these in a minute. All right, continuing. Now these all, we use the next 3, I think, maybe not the 3rd one.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם פוקח עברים.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who gives sight to the blind.
Keep going.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מלביש ערומים.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who clothes the naked.
Okay, so if you are peeking and looking ahead at what I wrote in parentheses for these, some of these are, those are citations for where these brachot, these blessings might have been based upon and why we say them. Okay, so continue for the last one, Rachel. And by the way, I am so enjoying you reading this.
ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מתיר אסורים.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who releases the imprisoned.
There you go. So we're going to continue on to the next page, but let's point out that if we were, if we were in a service right now, whether it's in our synagogue or in a synagogue, well, right now we wouldn't be saying these words because it's nighttime everywhere. Although there might be Hashkama minyan somewhere in Jerusalem, or one of the Orthodox, communities in Israel. But we'd be saying Amen, right, at the end of it.
Right.
So when there's a Shaliach Tzibur, when there's someone, or Shlichat Tzibur, a person who is leading the community in prayer, when you say Amen, basically it means I'm with you. What you said, I'm there too. It makes you Yotze. In other words, it's as if you said the prayer when you say and respond Amen to a bracha. Continuing.
ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, זוקף כפופים.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who straightens the bent.
Continue.
ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, רוקע הארץ על המים.
Yeah, you probably can't see it because it's too small. Roka haaretz alamayim.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who spreads the earth above the waters.
And
ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשה לי כל צרכי.
Sarki.
צרכי, well, it's really צרכי, but it's okay.
Well, not that I've ever heard, but we can talk about that later. All right, go ahead, Gail.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who provided me with all my needs.
All right, stop just for a second. In the English, I made the word provided highlighted. Why did I do that? Oops. Anybody? Why did I highlight the word provided?
Is it because it's in the past tense?
Exactly. That's exactly
The
right.
others are in the present.
Everything else is in the present tense. So that's kind of curious, right? So something like that makes us pay attention and sit up, go, yo, like what's going on here? Devorah, did you want to say something? Or you have the same comment? Okay. All right, let's go back to our brachot. We're going there, and then we go there, and then I highlight it.
ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המכין מצעדי גבר.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who prepares the steps of man.
There you go. Keep going.
ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוזר ישראל בגבורה.
Rah.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who girds Israel with might.
ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who crowns Israel with glory.
And everybody here might know of a synagogue, Tiferet Israel. They're all over the place. Basically means the crown, the glory, the glory of Israel. Right? Oter, you said tifara. Tifara is glory. Okay. Oter is
Kater is like kater.
keter. Exactly right. That's right. Okay. Continuing. We're getting on to the end.
ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, הנותן לעייף כוח. It's really לעייף כוח. I don't know, but it's לעייף כוח.
Le'ya'ef, right?
Right. But to the tire, it's עייף, not יעף, אבל
Koach, le'ya'ef, yeah.
right, yeah.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who gives strength to the weary.
Great. And it's really weary. No, I'm just kidding. And last but not least,
ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המעביר שינה מעיניי ותנומה מעפעפיי.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, King of the universe, who removes sleep from my eyes and slumber from my eyelids.
there you go. And I need to peek at what's on the next page so I remember. Okay, great. When am I using that? I don't remember. Hopefully I'll get everything. Okie doke. Phew, a lot of blessings. A lot of blessings. That's why I was going to do that. All right. Okay, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to share this last page with you. So who knows how many blessings we're supposed to say a day? So these are, how many are here? Like 15 or so? Devorah, how many blessings?
100.
100 blessings. 100 blessings a day on the wall. 100 blessings a day. Yes, we're supposed to say 100 blessings a day. Why? Does anybody know why? I'm about to give you the citation. First of all, let's face it. If you're an observant, if your observance has you praying 3 times a day, those are most of the brachot that you're going to need to say, right? But then when you eat, you're going to say, and when you go out into the world, there'll be other brachot to say. But especially with eating, there's a lot of brachot that you'll cover, and you'll get up to 100. But why 100? Why me'ah? Why 100?
Because it's better than 200.
I knew it's marked down from 200.
Right. It's 50% discount. Yeah.
Exactly. Scott's had enough. He's leaving. All right. Let me share this teaching with you from the Gemara. Tanya Haya Rabbi Meir Omer. It is taught in the Baraita. This is a response to the Mishnah. Rabbi Yirmu would say, Chayav Adam levarech mea brachot b'chol yom, that a person is obligated to say 100 blessings a day, mea brachot, b'chol yom, every day. Shene'emar, as it says in the book of Devarim, in chapter 12. Actually, no, it's 10:12. V'ata Yisrael ma Adonai Elohecha shoel me'imcha, actually. Well, it might be be'imech.
מהמלך, כן.
Well, Me'imech Yisrael is in Nekeva, maybe here, but I don't have the vowels to help me. So now Israel, Ma Adonai Elohecha shoel, what does God require of you? Right, so this is what Rabbi Meir pointed to, and he interprets the verse, V'ata Yisrael Ma Adonai Elohecha shoel me'imach, not to say what does God, ma, but mea, God requires of you. 100 God requires of you. Scott is shaking his head.
That's just weak. That's really weak.
It's weak. Okay, well, you take it up with Rabbi Meir next time you see him. But this is the really traditional citation for why we say or obligated chayav to say 100 blessings a day. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise with elation, praise every morning. God's recreation of the new day. Bookmark that. Okay, we sing that sometimes on Shabbos morning, right? So bookmark that I sang it now, because we're going to be getting to why it makes sense actually to sing those words in the morning. All right, so we're going to return together. Return again, return again, return to Mea Brachot. All righty. We're going to be going through the first few brachot here with a fine-tooth comb, and then we're going to go through the rest of them with someone with less hair. All right, so the first one is Baruch Yah Chei Olamim, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sech vivina, l'havchin bein yom uvein laila. You will not usually find the translation being as exacting as this, who gives the rooster understanding to distinguish between day and night. Usually it's an understanding of who gives a person the ability to distinguish between day and night. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be looking at various different Sidorim tonight. The first one I'm looking at actually is an oldie but goodie, which is a collector's item.
Wow.
This is Or Chadash, a new light, new paths for Shabbat morning that was put together by the Pnei Or Religious Fellowship. We're talking about when Reb Zalman of blessed memory lived in Philadelphia. The beginning of this, I don't remember where I got it. I think I found it at a Jewish used book sale. But there is an all-star cast that put this together, including David Cooper, Reb Zalman, Phyllis Berman, and a lot of other people. And guess what? Mark Cronish has something in here too. And I'm sorry that Mark's not here tonight, although he doesn't do nighttime. But there's all kinds of chants from Shefa Gold and her former husband, Sky Pellegru. And there's a lot of things here for embodying prayer and actually the movements to do during different prayer. So it's a really cool Siddur. Here's how this Siddur translates it. But it's not a translation. You could see who you, meaning God, and in this Siddur, what do you think it says? Yah Chei Ha'olamim. You create the ability to distinguish light from night. Now let's skip ahead about 30 years to Reb Zalman's praying in the vernacular. And Reb Zalman, you're going to love this. I offer you thanks, cosmic majesty, and worship you for giving me the gift to discern the difference between darkness and light. It's really quite beautiful. And it makes praying in the vernacular much more powerful than any translation might be. So it says, Asher natan l'sech vivina, l'havchin beyom uvein laila. So in those translations, and if you open most Sidorim, it's not going to say rooster. It's going to say who gives man or gives us the understanding, like sechel, right, or vina, to distinguish between day and night. So what is going on here with the rooster? Why in this text, which is very, very old, is it saying who gives the rooster understanding distinguish between day and night? Anybody?
Didn't the rooster make the sound in the morning?
That's right. The rooster is God's alarm clock.
Right.
Right? Rousing us as an unfailing herald of the morning. Right? Like, wake up. It's time to get up and go. Right? So before a long time before alarm clocks, it was the rooster that, remember, people, they would end their days when it was dark. Right? And then they would say, bi'ado afkid ruchi, placing their souls in God's hands, and then lay down. I don't want to give anything away. So let's continue. All of these blessings that we just said in its entirety, so beautifully with Rachel and Gail, can you summarize them in any way? Or can you summarize some of them? Are there groups of those brachot that kind of go together? Yeah, Scott.
Well, they kind of relate to all the different things that we do or need as we get up. And in fact, there's a version, and we have this in my Siddur there, in DC, which reorders them and puts in some interpretation about the steps from getting out of bed to getting ready for the day.
Exactly.
And I think it's bad that we take the rooster out because we're separating ourselves from the natural world.
It's beautiful, Scott. I really like that.
And Judy wrote, I don't know if you saw, cosmic alarm clock, and I really like that.
That's great, Judy. I refrained from using the word cosmic, but you must have heard me.
The cosmic alarm clock wakes up the cosmic majesty.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So
He's always awake, but
that's what the rooster is doing in there, right? And that is how we moved from rooster to, helping us discern the difference between day and night. I guess I didn't want people after a while just wondering what the heck is the rooster doing in our prayer book. Although I love your explanation, Scott, that it really is a reminder of how interconnected we are with the natural world and how far from that we've gone. Okay. So hold on just a second. So we have three blessings here. Who did not make me a Gentile, who did not make me a slave, and who did not make me a woman. Who did not make me a Gentile, who did not make me a slave, and who did not make me a woman. Did I see any hands go up here? Or I just saw people yelling at each other?
Yeah, Deborah and I are having a thing.
Devor is ready to fight over this. Okay, maybe maybe this will help. Alrighty. Did not make me a Gentile. Why would it say that? Shelo asani goy. Dan.
Well, because then I wouldn't have the opportunity to do the mitzvot
That's right.
in a Jewish way.
Right. You remember that the goyim and the nations of the world are only obligated to the 7 Noahide laws and not to all of the mitzvot that we are obligated to. Devor, did you have something? Or was that it? Dan took the words out of your mouth. Go ahead, unmute.
That was good. I want to test all the things that I was taught in, 50 years ago.
Okay.
So that was one of them. So
Oh, okay.
I heard that.
Gotcha. So if you are one of the goyim, you are you just don't know. You're ignorant, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way, but you just don't know about hey Jay, welcome. You just don't know about what the obligations are to an Israelite, to a Yid, right? But this word goy is problematic. But it wasn't problematic at the time that this was codified. Why is it problematic now? And why was it not a problem at that time? What does the word goy mean? Yeah, go ahead. Anybody, just speak up.
Doesn't it mean nation?
Yeah, it does. I mean, we are a goy kadosh. We are aspired to be a holy nation, are we not?
But if it means nation, then it doesn't make sense to say, thank you, God, you didn't make me a nation. So therefore, it must mean something slightly different, which then may take us into the less than complimentary way the word ended up being used.
Yeah, that's a good observation. I didn't even think about that. Why doesn't it say something like Shelo asani goy acher or something like that? Another, doesn't make me another, nation. But it doesn't, and that's an interesting question, Scott.
And it should say it in a positive way. Why doesn't it just say who made me a Jew?
Okay. So that's where we're going with this, because it's interesting that some of these are mitzvot lo ta'aseh, they're negative mitzvot, and the more of them are positive mitzvot. And there's going to be a slight shift over time between changing these negative mitzvot to more positive mitzvot. Now, this happens with the response has not made me a woman, right? To Sali Kirtsono, who has made me in your likeness, right? In your will. You brought me to life. So that is not one of the part of the original text, but that's going to be added at some point, and we're not exactly sure when women are vocalizing their issues with that being said in shul. What the hell are they supposed to say, right? Because they're being left out. Now, why are the men saying that? Now, Dan, you're on the right track, even though you haven't spoken yet. Why does it say Shiloh?
Lois and Isha.
Lois, honey.
Lois, right. Why does it say it was not made me a woman? Shiloh Asani Isha.
Because the men have the privilege of study and filling out many of the mitzvot.
Right. Now, what are those mitzvot? They're called time-bound mitzvot, right? Right. So let's come up with a couple of examples that in this context, the women are not obligated to fulfill. What's example?
Davening 3 times a day.
Well, women are required to daven.
להניח תפילין, to put tefillin, they don't do that.
Right. So that's one to do, because that is you have to do that at a certain time, right? What else? How about shofar? A woman is not required or even allowed to blow shofar in this worldly context, right? So there are time bound. Actually, let me pull up that.
Thank you, Judy.
Judy.
Is Judy like talking behind my back?
Yeah.
Yes,
She's chatting behind you.
But that's great, Judy. I think there's a Broadway musical in this. All the things I think we have to write this.
So I have a question.
Yes.
But
Lighting
wait, I
the
didn't get my
candles.
question.
Oh, sorry.
Don't
ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
She's
Go ahead.
interrupting you. Okay. Go ahead.
The United States is always first. The lighting the candles on Shabbat is time-based. Is that a woman's mitzvah?
yes, it is.
Yeah, it's a woman's obligation.
So it's time-bound.
But it's also derabanan, so I'm not sure how that fits in. Whether it's something that's most of these mitzvot are derabanan that we're talking about. Let me just read this. This category includes all holiday-related mitzvot: shofar, sukkah, and lulav. Okay, so those are time-bound, as well as the mitzvot that need to be fulfilled during certain parts of the day, such as just what Rachel was saying: tzitzit, kriyat shema, and tefillin. Right? Matzah on Pesach and Kiddush on Shabbat are exceptions in which the Torah specifically obligates women. May a woman choose to fulfill a mitzvah from which she is biblically exempted? If so, what is the halakhic attitude toward that fulfillment? Now that is a whole other conversation. But remember that Rashi's daughters are famous for having laid tefillin, right? For obligating themselves. There is a custom that if you want to take on, whether you're a man or a woman, to take on a mitzvah, you should do it for 40 days. Because until you've done it for that full amount of time, you really haven't established a ritual. Once you've done that, okay, if it's not for you, discard it and don't do it. But it takes that long for a ritual to really reveal its secrets and how it might affect you. Dan, did you have something else you wanted to? Okay.
So I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So what they always said about this from the women's perspective was that women didn't need to be tied to time because they had all these things with family and those were like really important obligations. And so they shouldn't have to do those other things.
That's right.
I kind of thought that like getting to do all the dishes and the laundry didn't quite match up to getting to go to shul and daven and do all these very cool things that men got to do.
And therefore, centuries of resentment.
Centuries what?
of resentment.
You can hear it all right here.
And that's why Mary Ree is not here tonight,
Right, so yeah.
because she won't take.
Why? Cleaning the dishes?
He's studying something else, Zohar or something.
She's probably studying somewhere. Alrighty. So this whole this thing about not being a goy, shelo asani goy, right? So Louis Ginsburg, who the Zichrono Livracha, who taught at JTS, he claims that the original text was not this, but rather shelo asani behema.
Oh.
That was not made a beast, an animal, right?
Except for a rooster.
Well, yeah, we've already covered the rooster, so that's why it was changed. So clearly, you know, an animal, I mean, that needed to be changed. Not that all of these things were better, but okay, I'm going to skip ahead in my notes for a second. Okay. The Sephardic custom, Rachel, you might be familiar with this, that this Shelo Asani Goy, it was never a part of the Sephardic custom. It said Sha'asani Yisrael, right? Sha'asani Yisrael, and in some Sidorim, that's translated as made me among the God wrestlers, right? Which I really like, and that appears in a lot of Jewish renewal contexts as well. But history,
it's so much better to say Shasani instead of Shelo Asani Goy.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, right. And as a matter of fact, in this prayer book of Reb Zalman's Or Chadash, everyone says, let me see, who created me a woman, of course. Barucha atya chea olamim she'astani isha. Right?
There you go.
That's right. So it even uses that, though, for Sha'asani Yisrael. They changed it. Brucha at Yachei Olamim Sha'asani Yisrael. You encourage me to wrestle with my faith, that's a really interesting unpacking of it too, right? And then, of course, what's missing from the ones that we said before was Ben Chorin and Bat Chorin, right? A free person. But it started out as who did not make me a slave, and then evolved over time to making the positive, who made me a free person. So, question. Historically, Shelo Asani Goy versus Sha'asani or Sha'astani, Yisrael, which is more correct? Historically, how did this evolve? I'm just going to tell you. You want to think back to the medieval period, right? During those days, the Christians wanted to know what we were up to. We could not be trusted. And so they would come to shul and hear what we were saying. They used to read the text and punish us or burn the text themselves if they found anti-Christian material in the text. So, what's more anti-Christian? Shelo Asani Goy, who did not make me a Goy. Now, that assumes that that word took on a different meaning than nation. And yes, it did, of course, because to this very day, in many politically incorrect households, the word Goy is used as a pejorative, right? You either had a Yiddish up or you don't. Right? Oh, he's such a guy. Right? The Goyim eat Miracle Whip. The Jews eat Hellman's. Right? So we even make cultural references and cultural assumptions based upon that word, which is not very nice. Let's face it. Okay. Now, in a way, that made me that didn't make me a woman, as far as the man saying it. That is a kind of a bracha of praise, of praising God for having made me the way I am, right? So let's also bookmark that idea as we continue to turn the ground over here to see what's going on. Okay. The Rambam, Maimonides, he was the king of categorizing things, right? The Mishnah Torah is all about helping us make sense of everything. Like, how do we do all of these things? Let's put them into categories so we can follow along. Now, of course, the Talmud, the Mishnah and the Gemara, they attempted to do that too, but there was way too much to read until you got to what we're supposed to do. So the Rambam, who had a full-time job as a doctor, he spent his, I think that said maybe he slept for 3 hours a night. I don't remember the exact number, but he insists that these blessings, meaning the rest of the blessings, should only be recited at the time of the corresponding action. Ooh. Now, Scott said something before that hinted at what the Rambam is about to tell us. Scott, you said many of these are things that we should say when we get up in the morning, right? That makes sense in that way, right? The rooster crows, we're up. I can tell it's daytime. I'm up, start my day, right? And then the other brachot will come later on, about...
you wash your hands in the morning, and
yes.
then you go to the bathroom in the morning.
Exactly. And that's where we're going with this. Now, the washing of hands is problematic for people who don't have indoor plumbing. And that is going to be important here as we go on, and you'll see why, Dan Glazer. You had your hand up.
No, I was just telling Raquel to not tell us the rest of her morning.
Oh, that was the TMI. Yeah, okay, fine. All righty. So, how are they different? These three. So these first three blessings about Isha and the Goy and the not be a slave, they have nothing to do with getting up in the morning. They're just statements of one's status, as if I needed a reminder, but that must be why they're more praise than anything else, okay? And everything's gonna like really fit together really nicely as we go on. His son, oh, wait a second. I need to pull something up here. What did I do? Oh no, did I not save that here? Oh, rats. Okay. I should have saved it because I wanted to read it. Oh, I can't pull it up right away. Okay. In an old version of the Gemara, these status blessings should only be said when you see a non-Jew, a woman, or a slave. Why? Because we don't say a blessing before something happens, except for lighting Shabbos candles, but let's put that aside, right? We say a blessing, right? Well, as we're eating, right? So it has to come right away. They have to be,
temporally associated.
Thank you, right? We're going to eat something that you say shakol, or you say adama, you say eitz, right? It's connected with the mitzvah, right? So if you haven't seen a non-Jew, or if you haven't seen a woman that day or a slave, right? Why would you say those things? And the Rambam's son, Avraham, he says, he agrees with his father. You say these things, even if these things haven't happened yet, right? Because it's all about status. Now, there's a problem here. Everything is handwritten in the year 1200. And this whole conversation that Rambam's having and then his son is having, this conversation, if I had it here, you would see that it's all based upon, oh, I heard from who told what's his name, and I got it from him, and that's what I'm sharing with you. It's all hearsay, It's not like the Gemara, which actually was memorized, the conversations between the rabbis, whose people it was job. Was anybody seen this TV show Inside with Stanley Tucci? Yeah. So remember, Gail, in that show, There's the guy, the African American who's also on death row with him. He remembers everything. He had what do they call it?
Photographic, but it was like auditory memory.
Right. He had auditory photographic memory, which totally reminded me of these guys who used to stand in on the conversations that the rabbis had, and they remembered everything. These conversations were passed on over the course of 600 years or 400 years, right? Codified over the course of 600 years, right? And it wasn't like he said that she said. They really knew what was said. Carol Ann, God bless you. She's already gone. Oh, no, there you are. Queen Carol Ann, go wear your crown because God has certainly crowned you with glory. All righty. We, the Rambam says, say these blessings beforehand, just like we should do that. So we say these are personal, private status, right? And then the Rambam had an observation. You know what? I've experienced the fact that most people say these in shul. They say these in shul. They don't say them first thing in the morning when they wake up, right?
Well,
So where does...
But they have when they wake up, they have a prayer.
That's right. Modeh ani lefanecha, right? But these prayers, as Scott pointed out before, are all associated with things we do first thing in the morning, and we're going to cover that as we go on, right? We'll make sure we cover all that, except for these status prayers that we start out with, right? So where does the custom of having said them at home, right, upon awakening, move from the home to the shul? Because Rambam notices that's what's going on. That's what people are doing. Now, number one, two reasons possibly that we don't say them at home. The first of all is something that you pointed to, Rachel, before, was washing, right? What did people need to do to wash? They didn't have indoor plumbing, right? They had to go outside and take water from the well. You know, these days, you have water at the side of your bed, and the first thing you do is you wash your hands to move from a state of ritual impurity to a state of purity. So then you can say these blessings, if that's your minhag, if that's your custom. The second reason, and maybe even equally as important, people didn't know them. They didn't know these blessings. There were no Siddurim. There was no written down, right? So they'd go to shul, the Shaliach Tzibur, the prayer leader would say the blessings, they'd say Amen, and then you'd be Yotze. Just like as if you said it, you'd say Amen. So the blessings got moved to the synagogue, right? Something funny happened around the same time in France, and I don't have a person to credit this to, but pointed out that these blessings are not about what you do in the morning. They're all about hodaot. They're all they're blessings of praise, right? All blessings of praise, praising God for this, praising God for that.
And gratitude.
Gratitude, absolutely, that's right. When we say in the morning is broken, it's God's recreation of a new day. There's a beautiful line in Shachrit. Right? In God's goodness, God recreates, mechadesh, renews every day, as in the beginning of the days of creation. So it's as if, it's deja vu all over again. But it's not. It's really as if I'm not even sure what's a good metaphor for this, but we're starting each new day, and if you want to break it down, it's really each moment as it presents itself, and we recognize God's presence in that moment. Devorah?
So these prayers are really individual prayers. Not so if you do them in the synagogue, do you have to have a minyan to say them?
These prayers? No.
Yeah.
You only have to have a minyan to say, Baruch, anything that requires a minyan. And Kaddish, etc.
That was the question. So these don't require a minyan.
No,
So
absolutely
people
not.
can stick. Okay.
Yeah, no, you can pray. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, that's a whole different conversation. Why are people standing for these prayers? Right? I have a wonderful book called Rise and Be Seated.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, right. You said you had that. And which the cantor who wrote it, he goes through a lot of these things. But that, again, that's for another time. These are blessings of praise of God, not action specific. These are things that now happen after we've done them, though. But we have other examples of that. There are blessings for natural things in the world. When we see lightning, you say a bracha. There's a blessing that says after the natural phenomena. And then we wait for the thunder to come, and we say that bracha for the thunder, right? These are not action specific. They're in praise of God because we recognize that it's God in the thunder and in the lightning, right? There are many, whatever prayer book you have, you're going to see these. There's a prayer on wearing new clothes, on smelling fragrant shrubs, on different scents, on wonders of nature, on seeing a rainbow. There's prayers on beautiful scenes of nature. There's prayers. I once stood up when Reb Zalman walked into the room, and I said the prayer. When someone walks in the room, there's of high stature who's a Rebbe, you stand up for him, and there is a prayer for it, which I get. Oh yeah, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehalach mechochmato lireav. Right. So that gave a portion of God's wisdom to those who are in awe. Well, of course, yira is in fear of, but we can look someone who is living in that awesome place of shiviti, which certainly Reb Zalman was. So I took that as an opportunity to practice bracha that day. That was a long time ago. Wow, time is flying by. Alrighty. I'm looking here because I do want to. Did you know, just a couple of little known facts. Some synagogues, and we're talking about Orthodox synagogues here, do not say any of these blessings out loud. Why? Because those men are married to progressive women. Don't want to hear that. And so basically they punt. They punt around the issue of saying it out loud, right? And they get around it.
Especially when they say shelo asan isha.
Absolutely, that's right.
So
these
avoid that one. They don't say any of them out loud.
Say any of them out loud. They just skip, or they mumble, which of course is the way as well.
They mumble that.
What do they say? So this gets changed. The word goy gets changed to nachri, right?
Nachri, right.
Right, nachri, right? Which is a
Stranger.
Yeah, more of a ger, a stranger. Right, but because this gets changed in England by Rabbi Hertz, who we all read from his Chumash, years and years ago, the blue one, right? He recognized he needed to get rid of the word goy because he recognized that in English Jews could not recite from the Siddur lo asani goy. So it's the same kind of sensitivity that living in a Christian context. One more thing that I want to mention before I move on to the rest of the brachot. It says in Devarim and that we shouldn't stray from the left or the right, right? And they're supposed to walk like this, like those yeshiva boys do in Yerushalayim or maybe in Brooklyn, so they don't see the women to the, they're not, lo taturu acharei levavchem, stray from what they see. But that's problematic because it also says, and it seems to be a contradiction, although we can read it as an affirmation. In also Devarim, when talking about the words of God, it says, Lo bashamayim he, that they're no longer in heaven. It's up to us to interpret the words, right? The words of Torah. Now, it also says in Devarim that what that means, of course, is that if you can't figure something out, you go to the Leviim at the time they make a determination, and whatever that is, and not to stray from that. All right. However, we know that it's not only Jewish renewal that has evolved and changed from what we knew, Jewish practice to be. That's all we've done through the millennia. We've changed from, Torah life to rabbinic life. We're not Torah Jews. We live rabbinic and practice rabbinic Judaism. And that, of course, from even in Crown Heights, from Rebbe to Rebbe, that changes. Okay, I want to keep my eye, and we're going to fly through the rest. Dan.
So a quick question. I thought that the Lo Bashamayim idea was not that it's not God's word specifically, but it's our interpretation down on earth. I thought it was that it's not for the ethereal that we do these things. We do these things here on this world to improve our life. It's not a matter of interpretation, but it's a matter of it applies here on earth, not just in the sky.
Yes and yes. There is the understanding that the rabbi is the Mara Da'atra of the community. That means the rabbi gets to set the standards, and that rabbi's people go and they follow the standards. But that rabbi's understanding of how to live one's life might be different than the Rebbe next door, right? And might allow something or be more strict about something than the other Rebbe is. So you can do Rebbe hopping until you get the answer that you want, but most Jews don't do that, and they follow their Rebbe, because that's where their community is. But again, things have changed, and things will continue to change and evolve as we go. So let me go back. Where is my keynote? Okay. So now let's take a look at, okay. I need to go to the next page. No. All right. Let me share this with you again. And let's look at the things in parentheses. Each of these have a reason behind it. Am I spotlighted there? Okay, great. Look at Pokeach Ivrim, who gives sight to the blind. Genesis 3:5. The citation for this is, and your eyes will be opened, right? So, of course, this is referring to, eating the apple or whatever it is. It could be an etrog, it could be any number of things. From the tree of discernment, the tree of knowledge between right and wrong, right? So this is clearly it's a metaphor of, it's not opening your eyes, although it could be that in the morning, right? Getting out of bed, but we're going to then take it even further to mean something more, more mind, right? More how we see the world, right? And to open our eyes to the truth, or to each other, or right. Sometimes when we're davening this and Moshe, I'll say even that the third eye, to be able to really to see the essence inside of something. Malbish Arubim, the next one, okay, who clothes the naked. So this also refers back to Genesis 3:21, and Yud Hey Vav Hey made for Adam and Chava garments of skin and clothed them. So this, of course, is Yud Hey Vav Hey doing this. So God is always the conduit through which these things happen. And we are basically acknowledging that when we put on our clothes, right, we are mimicking, we are acting like Adam and Eve, right? We are acting as God's servants, really, and we need to get dressed to do that, right? We're not going out into the world buck naked. Who releases the imprisoned, matir asurum. Pardon the he there. God releases the prisoners of misfortune, passion, sin, hatred, and jealousy. So to be imprisoned, as we are all well aware, is from narrow-mindedness, right? From moachin dekatnut, from being really stuck within our ways and subject to our upbringing and how our parents saw things. And it takes a lot to get through that. So I'm going to be quoting Abu Draham, a also medieval commentator, who's going to remind us of what this morning prayer meant originally. We say this when one sits up in bed and stretches his limbs, right? To relieve exactly, Devorah. And that is the direction we're going in now. Who straightens the bent. So Kev Kafufim, you stand erect after laying in a bent position all night, right? Who spreads the earth above the waters, Roka Aretz Alamayim. And what's his name, Monk? His first name, this is a wonderful, Rabbi Dr. Eli Monk. I own a number of books that are really hard to get now, because I was really lucky to have known years ago, I still know this rabbi, who basically went into the used Jewish book business. And he would call me in once in a while to just go through everything. Take what you want, he would say. And oh my gosh. So who straightens the bent. So this is again what it probably meant. Who stands erect after laying in bent position all night, right? Continue, Roka Aretz Halamayim. So Monk says even the bedridden can offer the blessing to the creator of the earth, right? Because if you can't stand up, you can still praise the creator for the fact there's anything underneath us, right? And so rolling Aretz al Hamayim, and I might add that I forget which terrible hurricane it was, but I think that we all met at Moshe on a Shabbos morning shortly after. And this line, Roka Aretz Halamayim, it took on just special significance for me, and I choked up, saying yeah, I mean, this is real. This is real. Sha'asali kol tzarki. This is not about Mick Jagger. I'm sorry, as it, you can't always get what you want, which is in the Moshe Siddur, but who provided me with all my needs. And Abu Daham says this is when you're putting on your shoes, because as long as one walks barefoot, you're confined to your home. Alrighty. So I want to read a more lengthy comment on this. It is surprising that the text of the blessing contains no direct reference to shoes. Rabbi Yoshua, to observe the rules of proper conduct in many manners, among them, do not withhold shoes from your feet. Rashbam comments it was considered derogatory for a scholar to go barefoot, as is evidenced by the Talmudic dictum. One should even sell the rafters of his home and buy shoes for his feet. For the masses, then, shoes were by and large the appurtenance, purchase, I guess is the thing that's needed, last of all, after one had acquired all the other basic necessities in clothing. Once a person had purchased shoes for himself, he could proudly declare that he now possessed all that he needed. So the blessing adopted the usage of common speech. Okay. And then it gets into the next, it gets into the syntax. Sha'asali kotzarki, which is past tense. You're going to like this. The writer notes that we were unable to find any reason for the variation. So I guess if you can't come up with a reason, you can't find a reason, the answer is, I don't know why this is past tense, which is my favorite answer in any situation. Okay. Hamechin mitzadei gaver, who prepares the steps of man. That's easy to understand, enabling us to proceed to take care of our daily affairs, right? All right. So unless you're out of the world and you're moving through the world, remember, underneath all of this is the recognition that that just like every blade of grass has an angel that is saying grow, grow, that every movement we make is moved, because we move because we're animated from within. Blessed are you, Yud He Vav He, Ozer Yisrael Bigvura, whereas Reb Zalman used to say Bigvura, who girds Israel with might, Gevura. In Brachot 60b, this is from the Talmud, when one fastens his belt, he says, right? So remember, you hold your pants up, they were, yeah, you needed to have something to, so maybe it was a piece of rope, but it also adds that the might of a warrior depends on his girdle upon which he suspends his weapons. So that might be another understanding of why the girdling oneself, girdling, might have been an important thing to add here. Oter Yisrael b'tifara, who crowns Israel with glory. Now, why didn't I make a comment upon that? Maybe there was nothing in here. I just didn't write it in. This is nice. The Gemara adds, when one spreads a kerchief over his head, he says this line, Oter Yisrael b'tifara, who crowns people with glory. Now that makes sense, doesn't it? You put something over your head. After the manner, there's something from Psalms. The reason for instituting this bracha was that headgear was customarily worn to avoid going about bareheaded. Israel is mentioned here because the divine presence rests upon them and not upon Goy Acher and the other nations. Okay, that's could be problematic to some, but not for us, for our purposes right now. Next one.
So is that why we have to wear yarmulkes?
Yeah, because of the divine presence. Now, wearing a yarmulke is not required as far as Torah is concerned. Tefillin is required. It doesn't say anything about yarmulke. It binds them as a sign, right? It doesn't say anything about a yarmulke. Anoten li ayef koach, who gives strength to the weary. I must have given up. This bracha does not appear in the Talmud. Instead, there are some variations here, but we can understand that, especially in the morning, saying this because some of us have sleep apnea. And finally, who, and that's the concluding bracha of the series. It says here its construction is quite strange. This is recited for washing the face, which makes sense because don't we all, some of us, right, exactly, Rachel, we've splashed water on our face and then we're more alert to what's going on and we're up.
And you say that's the last one?
That's the last one. Utanoma miyafapai.
Wow.
Who sleep from the eyelids and slumber from the eyelids? Because this is...
I would think that would be one of the first ones, just like, thank you for getting me up in the morning. I can open my eyes. I can get dressed.
Yeah, it is in the morning. That's what when you say that.
Right, I think what Dan's saying is, why isn't it the first one?
Oh, okay.
Blessing. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a good question, and the answer is it is the first one in some Sidurim. Many Sidurim change, as Scott was saying, the order of these according to the historical context of it and what makes sense to us.
But I can see that you could get up, put on your clothes, do all this stuff, and not really be awake.
That's right.
In the Reconstructionist, that's the first one. There's nothing in here about Isha, nothing in here about Goyim. It is She'asani Yisrael.
Right.
Is what we have. So it's all very positive.
Right. And the Reconstructionist Siddur is never going to have those other brachot in there. Wow.
There's nothing about doing Wordle is the first thing, a prayer for the Wordle and the first thing in the
And that's your job to come up with that bracha, Judy.
You can't do that till you open your eyes anyway.
There you go, Scott. That's right. That's so funny that you said that, because that is among the first things I do too.
What about
That's right.
coffee?
Coffee, Wordle.
The really very religious people, they sleep, and next to their bed they have water.
Right.
And then when they get up in the morning, they wash their hand before they even get up out of bed.
That's right. Because the hands might have become ritual impure in the night for touching, genitals.
Right.
And they didn't need plumbing to do that. They could have pumped the water from the well the night before and left it by their bed.
Absolutely right. They could have done that, which is why they probably
still do it now too. They still do it.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Watch Stissel. He's got to have water.
Now they can get it out of the sink.
Right. You don't want to get out of bed because you don't want to stand up before, and because then you have to say it's okay for kufufim, which is why the whole thing got moved to the synagogue. It's just way too confusing. Thank you, my dear friends. I'm going to stop the recording right now. Thank you for your holy presence, as our friendly woman in cyberspace says.